in. Nice to see you again this week. How you been doing this past week?
Pretty good.
Good.
Some ups and downs, but overall good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I do remember last time we talked or we met. You spoke about a really stressful genogram project you had coming up. I know you were feeling a little anxious about sharing that. But how's that going? How did that go for you?
I mean, I'm glad it's over. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, it was a really hard process, as you know. I'm glad that I didn't know I was going to share that much until I started talking, and then it was like it all just came out everywhere.
Right.
And then afterwards, I was just so upset. I was crying, and I just couldn't pull it together. But I have another class, Dr. Stoner took her that class, and so and then we're going to have group therapy in that class.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of back to back thing.
Right. Yeah. Kind of digging. So I called my mom afterwards, and I just kind of shared with her, like, so I did it. I shared the genogram.
Right.
But then I was just crying and crying. At first I thought it was because, we talked about my cousin Jacob dying recently, and so, I mean, part of that pain I think is that, but I think part of it was, Carson's birthday party.
Yes.
It was like 2 weeks ago, and so when my dad had come, I cleaned the house and I did everything, but then he was out in the backyard talking, and he was like, "What happened in your garden? What's going on here?" And kind of like critiquing that, and I'm like, "Don't you see all the things I'm doing right, Dad? Can't you see?" And so when I was talking to Mom, that came up, and I was just frustrated. I think that you can't ever make him proud, and that's part of what hurts. I think is in the genogram having to like. It's one thing when you know it in your head,
right?
But then speaking it into reality, out into the open, and acknowledging, like,
that this
is my dynamic with my dad. Like, I can never be enough for him, and it might not ever change.
Right. Well, now I want you to acknowledge that, you presenting a genogram of your family and having to explain all those relational dynamics, I think that is very difficult, but you got through it, and I want you to be proud of yourself for that. Because that's a brave thing to do, to pretty much tell your story in front of somewhat strangers. They're not part of your family,
Yeah.
So that's something to be proud of yourself for sure. And you did, if I'm hearing you correctly, you spoke about your dad basically not being proud of you. And at Carson's birthday party, you had all these fancy decorations and made everything beautiful. He kind of critiqued you. Is that what you said? He criticized you a lot. So when the criticism happens, or like when he says maybe a demeaning statement to you, like what happens after that? Like how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Or what's kind of like that next step look like?
I think if we talk about, like you talked about before, recognizing what my body's doing, I get really hot in my face, and I get really tense in my back, and my brain wants to go really, really, it goes faster, it seems like, and so I have to bring myself to slow down, and just the mindfulness things you've given me, the skills with to ground myself, feel the ground under my feet, and this time you would be so proud because I had a different response. I said, "Dad, in the spring I realized this is going to be a hard year in school, and I've got to really crack down, and with all my volunteering and stuff, there's just a lot going on."
Right.
So I had to realize that I was going to have to let this go so I could be focusing on the things that matter more right now. And so my way of handling that is I got some wildflower seeds, and I just scattered them all across the garden. Wow. And I've had flowers all summer, but they do get like 5 feet tall.
Wow.
Which looks unruly, what he's saying. But to me, I was like, no, like, I actually had that response and was able to defend myself in a way, or not even defend, but to give my perspective about it. Like, actually, this is kind of beautiful because this means I'm letting go of my perfectionism. And he was just non-responsive to that, but it felt really good to be able to, like, without even having to think super hard about it. That's what came out of my mouth.
It was almost like immediately you had, you kind of could cut that statement he made that was probably hurtful to you. You could kind of curb that and make it, like defend your planting of flowers. Like, why this is beautiful to me, And I think that's beautiful. So when you did kind of stand up for yourself, how did you feel like when you did that?
I think you feel more than one thing because it's uncomfortable to do something different and to react in a new way, and also like I'm not trying to be mean to him and like get back at him like, well, you don't know, and like be disrespectful. And I don't think I had that tone, but part of me was like, you should have just taken it, So I think I felt a lot of things all at once. It wasn't until later that I was able to give myself credit for standing up, kind of.
Right.
I think it was even when I was talking to my mom that I was able to give myself credit and be like, but I did say this.
Right.
Which
I did do this one thing.
Yeah, and it kind of.
Good for you, Jenny. I do want to go through the ORS here. I guess the situation with your dad kind of ties into interpersonally, like with your family and close relationships. How would you, like 0 to 10, rate that on a scale for where you are right now?
I feel like I'm at like a 6.5, 7.
Okay. And what about these relationships with anyone in your family and close friendships, relationships, kind of makes that 6.5, 7?
I think this past week's been super busy with school and with everything going on in life, and so there have been times that I would like to slow down and spend more time with them, like just sit with my husband and give him eye contact, and not just be flying by. And we do that a little bit, but I would like to do it more. It's just hard if you don't get home from school till like 10:30. You're both just tired.
Exactly.
Or even if you get home at 7, by the time you get the kids in the bed, you're just tired.
Right.
And so that's kind of why that's there, I think.
Now, if you, let's just say with the, you were talking about the eye contact and everything with your husband, if you were magically, everything was fixed, and you'd be able to come home and you did like have some time to just not always be on the go, like what do you think, what would that perfect moment look like for you and your husband, you and your family? Anything.
I love being outside. So I think I would come home, everything would be clean. And it doesn't have to be perfect clean, but at least like nothing. All right, so nothing's in the floor.
Okay.
Because that's my brain automatically is like, when there's stuff on the floor. Dinner's made, so I don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
And we get to go out back and play. And lately we've been really into like bow and arrows. Oh, wow. And so my husband has made these bows out of PVC pipes. Yeah, it's so fun. And he made a target out of styrofoam blocks, like from work, from the printer boxes.
Wow.
And so it would be us just out back, playing around with a bow and arrow. My son got a boomerang at his birthday party.
Wow.
Playing with his boomerang and kind of just being free to just play outside. And it wouldn't be raining like it is today.
Yes. This weather is awful.
Yeah.
But I did notice you lit up a little bit. When I asked, like, what would make the perfect moment with you and your family? I'm just wondering, what about that makes you instantly light up? Like, what about your family or just spending time with them kind of makes that joyous expression?
They're awesome. You hear all the time that the important thing in life are moments, not things. And so you try to live by that, but at the same time, you have to handle things. You have to do things and get things, all that. And so I think in my heart of hearts, I get such joy because this is my family that God has entrusted to me, my kids that I get to watch grow up, that grew in my belly. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so there's a lady that spoke in our class once, and she used this word like wonderment. And I think that my family is a wonderment. Like, I'm constantly learning new things. And Chip surprises me, like with the bow thing. Like, he surprises me with this random stuff, but that's part of why I love him. It's like, you're going to do what? Well, okay. You use a heat gun? Oh, well, okay. And so it's that your family is not just stagnant, they're continually like growing and doing, and when you get to be part of that, you get to know them more. You get to appreciate one more thing about them.
Right. And I think what really stood out from what you said is it just seems like you value moments with people, with your family, and the things are important, but you find so much value in it.
Yes.
Just spending time with people.
Yeah.
And interacting with them. I think that's really great. A lot of people find that hard.
Yeah, it gets hard though when you're like pulled into it.
Yeah.
So when you know you have deadlines, and you know you have people waiting to hear back from you for teams and things. You know, the retreats this weekend, and we have a lot that has to be orchestrated for that.
Right.
So you can get caught up in those things for sure.
Well, I know with the retreat, you were a little anxious about that too, just how the planning was going to go, and you recently having to kind of sit back a little bit, take a step back with like school work increasing. I guess like how has that been? How has the retreat planning gone for you?
It's been rough, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we are a great group. We have a great group of women and godly women. But anytime you have a leadership change, I feel like there's growing pains. And so we just had a lot of growing pains where my best friend Amanda has taken over my role as the chair, and my mentor in life, Denise, who her kids are now in college. So, but she took me under her wing like 10 years ago when we first came into the church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she has this wisdom and this patience, you know.
Yeah.
But they've been butting heads a lot, and it's hard for me to not try to get in the middle of it and be like, well, don't you want to, like, and problem solve, but you can't do that. You have to let them figure out their way they're going to work together.
Right.
But it's so hard for me to just sit back and, like, write it out, because I'm like, ooh, this is not.
I guess especially since you were, in essence, trying to give yourself a little bit of a break by stepping back a little bit from just that world of yours. So, do you think it would be is basically you stepping in between them kind of adding to your stress, or do you feel like you're back in that leadership role when you're trying to kind of step out of it?
I think what I've learned from it, it's not really any of that. It's more like, man, I must be so proud that I think that I can tell her, oh, here's what you should do. Here's what you should do. Here's another way to lead. But she has to find her own leadership style. So then I have to like reprimand myself in a positive way and just be like, if you release this, you gotta let it go. So it is taking on. I have more anxiety in terms of my friends.
Okay.
Because if one's mad at the other, then I'm worried about how do I respond the right way when one's venting about the other. I feel like I'm being triangulated. That's the word.
Yeah.
You've heard that one. That's what it feels like. And so even though I'm not in the role, and that's nice to not have to like send the emails and make sure the lists are made and everybody knows what their responsibilities are and following up with all that. But also being there like waiting for the call of like, I am frustrated. She's not listening to me, and not just dishonoring that person, the other person, because I love them both.
So how do you? I'm just interested in how do you stay or try to stay neutral and not get pulled into that triangle that they're trying to pull you into.
Okay.
Or have you developed any ideas or ways that maybe you can kind of like de-triangulate yourself?
I feel like I've just kind of pulled away from one friend and not sided, but like I'm more of a sounding board for the other.
Okay.
And that's not where I want to be, you know, but I also don't know how to be with both of them separately and hear both sides. And as we're talking, it really reminds me of being like the middleman with my parents, you know,
and having to go through that same kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
Just with two different people.
Yeah. That I really care about.
Right.
I never ever put that correlation on it, but yeah, it's definitely true.
I mean, when you're in, I feel like when we're in these type of, I guess, triangulated relationships, it's like hard to see. It's hard to see the fact that I'm getting pulled in and kind of see, for me, how to get myself out, you know? I think it is important to try to, you know, slow it down in your head and see what is happening, you know, as this is playing out. So when your two friends are, I don't know, having a huge argument about whatever it may be with this retreat planning and the whole committee, usually what happens? Do they immediately pull you in, or is it like one person will kind of say something, or what does that look like?
Well, this past meeting that we had on Tuesday, it started out pretty okay, but then my best friend Amanda got upset because we weren't staying, like we were taking too long to make decisions, and we only had so much time for it to go because we had to get our kids. And we gave ourselves like 2.5 hours, so it should be enough time.
Right.
But we were just overthinking something. But she got mad. And when she got mad, she was like, okay, like we need to, like, and got like that about it. And so I went into like crisis handling mode and was like, I tried to speak to what everybody was thinking to her in a good way. But still afterwards, she was like, yeah, I mean, and she wound up apologizing too for that to the whole group during that meeting. But afterwards, she was like, I just don't know if I can do this, and like, so I handle it well when it's going on, but it's the after, whenever she's like hurting from it, and I want to validate her as a leader, but also that's not effective leadership. So it's also that dual role of like trying to like help usher her into that position and equipping her, but not teaching her how to do it my way.
Right.
But also like protecting the other people that don't want to be yelled at either. Like,
So initially it's like the disagreement starts, it kind of elevates a little bit, raising the voices, things like that. But then you see one person is hurt, and then you just want to help them out and feel better about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's a great characteristic to have. That you do care about all these people around you so much. Just that compassion, I think, is really important. And then let's see here. As far as socially, I feel like the triangulation comes into play here.
That's my social system this week.
With your friendship. I know we talk a lot about school and everything like that. But I know you have like a lot of pressure a little bit coming on you. You know, going to the clinic and things like that. Just how are you feeling with the school aspect of things?
I feel like I'm staying afloat. I like to be in a boat, like thriving, you know, not just like barely like treading.
Yeah.
And I'm used to kind of feeling like, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. Whereas I feel like I'm more like, okay, having to take it day by day. Like what has to happen today for school and church and the kids' school and life. Like what has to happen today, and then the next day doing that same thing again. Surprisingly, I'm being pretty patient with the process. It's a lot of prayer. The thing I'm nervous about in the clinic is I want to help, and that's the heart of it. And I want to get out of my own way to help. And so I know I'm like, I get into problem solving mode, and that's what they need.
Yeah. So. And I know earlier you said, you know, you felt like this was your calling. So you know you're supposed to be here. I'm wondering, is that helping you cope with like, you know, the stressors that come with school and like added responsibility with like clinics, things like that?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Because I know that this is the program that God called me to, and that He's put this in place and put the pieces together. and I've obeyed so far, and he's so faithful every step of the way.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be okay. And so I trust that. And I think that's why I have more of a peace about the clinic.
Yeah.
But it is just like I gotta get out of my own way. And also releasing like my perfectionism, like we worked on and talked about.
Which you have done a great job.
Thank you.
You have done a great job.
Yeah. But it's hard to release sometimes because it feels safe to think that you're in control of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do want to say I'm thrilled with the progress you made and just watching you progress through these past few weeks. I'm like super excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
So I do, as we do with each session, I want to have you fill out this SRS for me.
Okay.
Thank you. No problem. And thanks so much again, Joanne. We'll see you next week.
Okay? See you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's make it.